Many of you may have led your group through the Take-10 questions for the first time this week. Way to go! I wanted to share a few tips that I've learned by going through this process myself, with my own group and with people one-on-one. So let's get into it. Tips for leading Take-10 conversations. What to say and do when you get crickets from your group. Tip number 1, remind your group that the goal is growth and practice, not shame. Our purpose in asking these questions is not to create shame or a sense of being a bad Christian. The goal is to encourage one another to grow in practically following Jesus on his mission of sharing the good news with the people in our lives who don't know him through our words and our actions. We want to be disciples who reproduce disciples. You may consider starting the Take-10 time by saying something like, "We're going to ask the Take-10 questions." This is an opportunity to encourage each other in the small steps we've taken to connect with someone in our lives who doesn't know Jesus, and to reflect on where Jesus is working in our lives. I don't want anyone to feel shame about answering these questions. The goal is to grow in joining Jesus, not to make anyone feel bad. Tip number 2, focus on helping your group members remember what actually happened last week. Group members may struggle to see the places where God is at work in their lives and the lives of people around them. We want them to see that little steps count and can add up to make a big difference. Interruptions and difficult situations are places God could be at work in their lives. To help them, ask, what was a really good or really hard moment you recently had with someone? Then you can follow up with, what do you think Jesus was up to in that moment? Or, what was he asking you to believe or to do? Tip number 3, focus on the progress and challenges people are experiencing as they invest in friendships with people living without Jesus' grace and truth. Ask them, what is working in your interactions? What's not working? What's your next step in growing depth in your friendship? Emphasize the importance of taking baby steps. Baby steps make a big difference and add up over time. Our goal is small steps in the right direction, not necessarily giant leaps. Tip number 4, focus on helping people identify next week's personal action step. Before ending, ask each person to respond to this question. As a result of what we've talked about today, what's one thing Jesus is giving you to believe or do for the good of others in the coming week? This helps them be more aware and intentional in joining Jesus on his mission and have a step to take. We want to be doers of the word and not merely nod and say, that's a good idea. Identifying insights and being accountable for implementing them is key to the retraining process. It also provides a measurable step for the next gathering. Tip number 5, start as a group and then work towards pairs. As you introduce these questions, you'll want to go through them as a group to start with. This will allow you to share the purpose behind these questions and help your group see that they are strategic. However, once they've got the questions down, you can transition your group to asking these questions to each other in pairs. This will make the process quicker and allow more of the group to share. Tip number 6, how to transition into the rest of life group. Once you've dedicated 10 to 15 minutes of your group's time to the Take-10 questions, you will want to transition to the rest of life group. I've found it helpful to pray for the connections people are making or the situations they found themselves in this week. Once you're done, you can say something like, that's what we put into practice last week. Now let's learn about what we can do this week. Then launch into the message-specific small group questions. Thank you for taking the time to process this information with us. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We will do our best to help you and your group reproduce disciples. We hope these little steps will help all of us to stay on mission with Jesus this year and in the years to come.